So a line has been crossed. It wasn't a single stray Russian Shahed drone. There were 24 that crossed into Polish airspace. This is a stress test of NATO in my estimation. And it happened before, and it's going to happen again. I wanted to title this, I Told You So, because I did tell you so. That's why it's titled, It Happened Again. Let's look back. It Happened Again was the title of my last time when I did this. Now, let me look at this. This was 1 month ago. Well, that wasn't the last time. Well, yeah, maybe it was the last time, but there was another time before that. Or, yeah, here it is. It happened again. I called it the other time. That was 3 weeks ago. And here we are yet again. Okay, so Ukraine's Air Force officially reports that at least 8 Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace last night. And that was an early analysis, and it looks like it's upwards of 24. The highest count that I saw was 23, so I'm rounding. But there was 23 and theoretically a missile, so it's 24 air objects. When Russia launched a massive combined strike on Ukraine using 58 aerial attack assets. Okay, now that alone would have been the big story if it wasn't any, otherwise 458 aerial attack assets. Okay, so it was a bad night. It was a huge attack, but I want you to see something. I want you to look at this. Okay, this is the border of Ukraine. Look where things are flying outside of Ukrainian airspace. Okay, look at all this outside of Ukraine's airspace. And it wasn't just coming from inside Ukraine either. There are other drones that are coming directly from Belarus. Okay, Poland's operational command has confirmed that the air operation involving Polish and allied jets has concluded following airspace violations overnight. Search teams are now working to locate potential debris from unidentified objects that crossed into Polish territory. Dutch F-35s played a key role in supporting the mission, while Polish air defenses have now returned to regular operational status. Okay, so the Polish air, now when they first scrambled jets, I was like, why even scramble the jets? I talked about this the other day. Why even scramble jets when you weren't actually going to do anything? But they actually shot some things down. Now, here's a later report. Over 20 Russian drones, likely 23, violated Polish airspace last night. Dutch F-35s led the response, shooting down multiple Shaheds. So they actually did do something about it last night. Poland shoots down Russian drones, closes 4 airports due to drone attack. For the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion, NATO member country came under direct attack when Polish forces intercepted Russian drones violating national airspace. Okay, so is the word direct attack too harsh? Okay, let's say it was accidental. It's still an attack by Russia on Poland, even if it was accidental. So I'm not saying that it could have, it had to, I'm not saying it was a direct assault, intentional, whatever, but that also could have been the case. I mean, they could have been probing here, and it's quite likely that that's what was going on. Video has surfaced online allegedly showing the moment of one of Russia's drones being shot down over Polish territory. There's no official confirmation, but here you see going across the sky. Where is it? There it is, right here, going across the sky, and then you'll see it kind of get blown out. That was a drone. Okay, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says at least 19 airspace violations have been confirmed. Later, the numbers are going to tick up. It lasted all night. A significant number of drones came from Belarus. This is the big story, that they came from Belarus, not just through Ukrainian airspace and kind of went, half a mile over the border or something like that. It's much more than that. Polish Deputy Speaker says that around 20 drones violated Polish airspace overnight, some shot down with Allied help. He warns that Poland is nearly defenseless without allies and criticizes the ongoing paralysis in funding anti-drone defenses. Quote, "We have money for everything except protecting our skies. Got to do something about that." Polish Prime Minister says for the first time during this war, the drones did not come from Ukraine. Again, whether it's full of errors, disorientation, or small-scale Russian provocations, so it really doesn't matter why it happened. It happened. But if the motive was worse than just an accident, then that's far worse. For the first time, a significant part of these drones entered directly from Belarus. The Kremlin's first comments about the drones over Poland, and it's no comment. Okay, this is Peskov saying, we wouldn't like to comment on this. This is not for us to do, so it's a matter for the Russian Defense Ministry. Okay. And yet you comment about everything. Okay, that's fine. Another Russian Gerdes drone here was discovered in, now you think I slaughter Ukrainian names, Krasnokwa? I'm going to slaughter in a whole different language here. 7 drones and debris from unidentified missile have been found on Polish territory following Russia's overnight airspace violations. Russian Gerdes drone found in Wuhan, Poland. If you're Polish, tell me how my Polish pronunciation is doing, because I'm pretty sure I'm messing things up. A photo is circulating online, allegedly showing one of the Russian drones shot down over Poland. It's reported to have been found in the town of Minskow. Okay. Emergency service crews inspecting damage to a farm in an eastern settlement of something else I can't pronounce. Russian attack drone went through the roof of a Polish house this morning. Yeah. So, I mean, whether that's an accident or not, it's still doing damage, and it is in NATO. And if there's not a NATO response, there's all kinds of problems that will be coming as a consequence. This isn't Ukraine. This is Poland. Russian attack drone. That's what happened here. Okay. So, you see here where the boxes are. These are the places that were hit. Okay, so some right around the border down by Ukraine, you would understand, but over here coming through from Belarus, that's hard. Or what's going out way over here, that's really hard to understand. So again, there's a tight concentration here, here, and even one up here. I don't know what's going on up here. Okay, Russian drone crashed into a residential building near Poland's border with Belarus overnight, damaging the roof of a parked car. Polish forces shot down over a dozen unmanned aircraft. The aftermath of the Russian drone attack in this particular city. Yep. However, this marked the first time NATO aircraft engaged potential threats. That's really the big story here, that it's the first time that NATO is actually engaging, because they have to. Polish citizens are at risk here. Citizens of a NATO allied country are at risk. The response involved Polish F-16s, Dutch F-35s, Italian AWACS reconnaissance planes, NATO shared refueling aircraft. In eastern Poland, cameras recorded the first confirmed drone strike on Polish soil as a drone or drone-like object hit a residential building in Wierkry, damaging a roof, though no one was injured. Meanwhile, Poland is pulling troops toward its border with Belarus amid preparations for the Russia-Belarus Zapad 25 military exercises. You'll remember, if you're paying attention, that it was just on the other side of military exercises in Belarus that Russia invaded Ukraine. So if they're a little nervous, there's a reason for that. NATO is not treating this violation of Polish airspace by Russian drones as an attack. At least that's what Reuters is reporting so far. So they shot this down, but they're not thinking of it as an attack. But remember this date, because if a wider war breaks out, if there is something that turns into some larger regional war or, God forbid, a World War III, September 10th is a big turning point. I want to remind you, September 10th, 2001, these buildings were still standing and everybody thought that everything was just fine. It was September 11th where everything went wrong. September 10th, remember that. If NATO, Andrew Perpetua says, if NATO does not make a firm boundary for Russia today as a result of Russia's attack on Poland, then Russia will attack Poland again. Well, I've already proved it. I talked about it in those 2 videos here where I said, look, Putin laughs at Russia's red line as West drafts another memo. That was my title. That's exactly what happened. Nothing happened. At some point, it's not even Putin's fault anymore. I mean, it is, but you understand what I'm saying? Like he's just being taught by the West that they're not going to do anything. It's like dangling meat in front of a tiger, he says. Okay, so let's turn our attention to Ukraine now, and what actually happened overnight was that there were 458 missiles, 368 or 386 of the 415 were shot down. 27 out of 42 Kh-101 caliber cruise missiles, and 0 of 1 Iskander ballistic missile shot down. So this would have been the big story, like a top 10 hit on Ukraine, if it wasn't for what happened with Poland. And where were the hits? Klemenski region, Volyn, Vinnytsia, Cherkasy, Lviv, Zhytomyr regions. So these are not like the normal Kyiv and Odessa kind of strikes, right? There was shrapnel hit on a civilian warehouse here, mercifully without casualties. But imagine you're the guys that own the warehouse, and this is your property, and this is your life's work, and it's now up in smoke. Aftermath on a Russian attack in Zhytomyr Oblast. Yep. I mean, same thing every day. Footage shows a Kh-101 cruise missile flying over Vinnytsia moments before impact. Both Lviv and Vinnytsia industrial sites and civilian infrastructure were hit in the overnight attack. And so you're seeing that cruise missile going over. Okay, rescuers are now working in Volchynsk. Russians struck ordinary sewing workshop with a missile. Like, this is the kind of thing they do. 415 drones of various types, 40 cruise missiles. And then Zelensky goes on and says this: Moscow always pushes the boundaries of what is possible. I think this is the big story right here. Moscow always pushes the boundaries. They're pushing the boundaries. And if it does not encounter a strong reaction, it remains at the new level of escalation. That's right. We're training Russia on how to treat the West right now. Today, there was another step of escalation. Russian-Iranian Shaheds operated in the airspace of Poland, in NATO airspace. It was not just a Shahed that could be called an accident. It wasn't just one little violation. No, this is extremely dangerous precedent for Europe. A strong response is needed, and it can only be a joint response by all partners. That includes Ukraine, Poland, Europeans, and the United States. If there is not a strong response by all partners, you'll see more of it. I would be willing to bet you whatever you want to bet at this point. I mean, it's just, I'm not a gambling man, but this isn't a gamble. This is, if we know anything, it would be so counter to what we understand about what the Russians will do historically that it's not even a gamble. Okay. Yesterday, we talked about how Russia dropped a 250-kilogram guided bomb on pensioners waiting in line for their monthly payments in the front line of Yarovo village. At least 24 civilians were killed. I understand that just ticked up from another article to 25 now. 19 wounded. They're just standing in line to get their pension. Old people. Like, when Russia hits these civilian targets, it's disproportionately hitting the old, women, and children. 990 Russians off the battlefield, 3 tanks, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 29 artillery systems, 83 vehicles and fuel tanks. Overnight attacks, major wave, 90% of those drones and missiles were intercepted. 16 missiles got through and did some damage. Most engagements in nearly 2 months. And you're seeing that in the tick up here to almost 1,000 day over day. By the way, we're at, after passing the million mark just a couple months ago, we're at another 91,000 as of today. I'm not going to talk about the battlefield much because I've already spent all my time on what was going on with Poland. A demining team detected an unexploded guided aerial bomb, the KAB-500. Sappers quickly removed the dangerous munition, transported it to a designated site, and successfully neutralized it. I talked about this with Andrew Perpetua the other day. Video shows of why tassels are required. So they have these nets that they're going through here, and if they drive through under the netting, they're a lot safer. But these tassels, these things hanging down, are actually making it safer for the drivers because it's hard for the drones to navigate. They can get in there, but if they do get in there, you see like that little burst that just happened, that's more than likely from the tassels. And they have to restring if there is a big hit somewhere under there. Drone hits the string, gets tangled in the string, either gets suspended in the air or crashes, and that's the end of the drone. This could not be a more simple or effective defense. They don't want them to get under there, but if they do get under there, that's the only defense that they have. Otherwise, it's just going after vehicles. There are no plans to attack NATO countries. The alliance knows this very well, says Darth Putin. Here he's showing an old video of Maria Zakharova saying there are no plans to attack NATO countries. The alliance knows this very well. Well, Putin was just saying this. I just showed you a clip of Putin saying it 2 days ago. All right. Now, I want to do something a little bit different here. And that is that I want to actually show another shout out. And this shout out goes to a guy named Steve. Steve has been awesome. He reached out to me and said, hey, look, I'm a graphic designer and I want to help you here because I appreciate what you're doing. And what he actually did was help me redesign my thumbnails or help me use software to do this. Believe it or not, for 2 years, and I'm a professor, I use PowerPoint. I was doing my thumbnails with PowerPoint. Like, how barbaric is that? And this is, as a consequence, it looked pretty terrible. Like this. Like these were my thumbnails, because that's the best I could do. I mean, I can talk about this and I understand this, but the technical side of it, I wasn't really where I should have been. And Steve has helped me significantly do a lot better. So thank you, Steve. You deserve the shout out. Last thing, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. my time, that's 2 p.m. GMT. And so you have to figure out where you are relative to GMT, little 30-minute live stream. And I'm going to try to do these on Mondays and Thursdays, 30 minutes, try to keep the live stream down. We'll cover everything you want to talk about as quickly as you can, but you can call in and you can ask a question. Just have to download the free Podbean app on your mobile phone. If you want to call in and talk to me, that allows anyone around the world. So I was thinking of other things where people could call in, but like many systems didn't work for international, and 2/3 of my audience are international. So I'm trying to make a way here. So if you want to be part of that, look for that tomorrow. Download the Podbean app now. Thank you, my friends, for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. In my next video, I'll talk about the reaction to what happened in Poland, like what world leaders are saying. So that's definitely coming. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.